Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another production meeting. The guys and I are back this week with lots to talk about. First off, what did you guys do this week? Anything new?
I watched a bunch of stuff, considering I don't have anything else to do. And I went back to the old-fashioned list that I neglected last week because I didn't want to forget anything that I watched. So as far as movies that I'd already seen, the Spooktober Film Festival continued with me, and we watched all the Final Destination movies, all the Hatchet movies, which if you're a fan of like trauma or like just, B movies, the Hatchet movies, I can't recommend any higher. What else do I watch? And then the Insidious series, which I felt like I enjoyed Insidious more, but watching it with all these other horror movies, I'm kind of like knock it down a peg or two. I don't know, it just didn't hit as well. As far as new stuff, I actually finally jumped on board the Apple Plus train, at least for this 7 days. I will hopefully not be on that Apple Plus train in about 4 days. But over the past 3 days, I have binge watched quite a bit, which I watched Servant, which I was very excited for. I'm hesitant to recommend it. Sometimes I feel like, and if you guys don't know, you know what Servant is, right? Clint, did you watch that yet?
Yeah, I watched all of it.
Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of, it's produced, I guess, by M. Night Shyamalan, or at least he presents it. Sometimes I feel like it's creepy for the sake of being creepy. I would probably hold off until the new season comes out to even start watching it, because I feel like if you watch the first season, it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and you're just going to be frustrated that nothing really gets answered. So yeah, I would wait. I also watched The Witches on HBO Max.
Oh.
And turn around, walk away, don't even watch it unless you love Chris Rock narration. Just put it away. It's Chris Rock. I was
it's very, oh man, I gotta leave, guys. I gotta go watch this movie.
The old one is just heads and tails better. I mean, there's some like creepy aspects that this new one does that it's probably, I've never read the book, so I don't know. But there's some stuff in there that it's probably more from the book, and it would make more sense. But I think the old one's a lot better. Plus, this new one is way CGI heavy and super, super, super bad CGI heavy. So
really,
I cannot recommend that. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like with the old one, they actually use like real mice and like puppet mice. This one, it's all CGI mice, and they look horrible. So I would not recommend that. I also, the surprise pick that I will say, if you guys haven't watched it, and I don't know, it's like a feel-good comedy thing, but Ted Lasso.
I was going to ask if you started that.
That's actually really, really good. I was very, very surprised with that. It's like a feel-good kind of like Office type of thing. And it looks like it'd be, kind of cheesy, maybe like an SNL type of skit, but it's not like that. It's actually kind of serious and kind of funny. Jason Sudeikis does a great job in that role. And I've not finished it. I've got like 2 episodes. There's only 10 in the first season. But like I said, I would recommend that just for some feel-good watching. And I think that's about it, aside from Rebecca, which we will discuss later. So right. I've had a fun-filled watching week.
Are these like 30-minute episodes?
Yeah, they're all 30 minutes. So you can knock out that Ted Lasso in like a day or two. So
yeah.
And you'll know if you like it after the first one. It's legitimately, that first episode is legitimately the tone of the entire series. It does get there are some kind of like heavy moments towards the last third of it, which kind of caught me off guard a little bit, but it's still pretty good. Like, I enjoyed it a lot.
Cool beans.
Yeah, I've been kind of, like, I have that on my watch list, but just have never pulled the trigger. So I was like, okay, it's good to hear that's got some quality to it.
And we talked about it briefly beforehand. I also watched On the Rocks, the Sofia Coppola joint on Apple Plus, and it's not bad. The dialogue in it's pretty good. She once again gets a fun performance out of Bill Murray. Rashida Jones is fine. She's I mean, as far as a lead role in a film, which I don't know if I've seen her in a lead role before. I can't, nothing comes to mind.
Not on film.
She does, yeah. she does pretty good job. The problem with the movie is I don't think it hits high on Sofia Coppola's standards. It seems very phoned in. I don't know if it's something that she had been working on or if this is like close to her. But it didn't hit, like, there wasn't a moment where I was like, wow, this is great. It just went through the motions. And aside from, Bill Murray being super entertaining, I can't, don't go out of your way to watch it. If you watch it, you'll probably enjoy it. But other than that, it is what it is.
I pretty much agree 100%. I also watched that, and yeah, like Bill Murray, there were a couple of moments where I found myself laughing pretty decently. Yeah, it just kind of gets lost in a lot of. I thought it was a little bland. It's got some charm to it with Bill Murray and Rashida Jones. She like you said, she brings it. She's pretty decent. She plays a mom in this, and it's not any fault on the actors on their performance. It's a good it's a decent flick in that regard. It's just there's not a lot of substance at the end of it. It just kind of it gets lost in not the sauce but the bland sauce. So yeah,
are you telling me it gets lost in translation?
Maybe. But it's like you said, do not get an Apple TV Plus account just to watch this movie. That would be a bad reason to get the subscription. I mean, there's definitely worse things you can watch, but yeah, it's a bland, big bag of bland.
Yeah, and also usually with her movies, I'm really down with like the soundtracks. This one didn't really stand out to me. It like wasn't that great, so not a huge fan. But
there was one thing I that didn't bother me so much as some of the angles that scenes are shot and the way like it's very small stuff that like she is reading a book and the camera has the focus like lens, so it's focusing on the mid part and then above where she's reading and below is very blurred, and the way it moves around, and there's certain shots that they zoom in and it's it almost looks amateurish. I was just like, this didn't look edited well. It didn't look captured very well. So, I mean, but that was a minor thing. I only noticed it a couple times, but it was enough to make me, mention it. So it's
tell us how you really feel, Alex.
But so there was that. I finally watched Get Out for the first time. I'd actually never watched it when it was in theaters because I don't know. I was waiting.
You just watched it right now? Like this week?
Yesterday, yeah.
No.
But I had seen Us in theaters. And I thought it was very similar to that. You can tell like in Us, there's a scene that's shot that's very still. The camera doesn't move whatsoever, and there's a scene in that's very similar to that in the panning, like how far or how wide the angle is. And I thought, oh, I can see, because they're both Jordan Peele. I didn't hate it, but I thought it was a tad bit overrated. I was like, I thought it was funnier, like more funny than freaky, to be quite honest with. I don't know who the actor was that played him, but he was genuinely making me laugh like a good portion of the time, anytime he was on screen. So I took that as the most positive part of the movie. I mean, part of it made me go, oh, like, wow, that's a plot twist, but I wasn't blown away. I'd give it a 7. I think it was a good, because that was his first directorial flick, yes?
Yes.
So I agree that it was good. I thought it was maybe a little bit blown up too much. So I watched those two. As far as games go, I played 2 games. One is an obscure game, just a free game that I played. And then I played the old classic remake of this game called Medieval. I had told Clint about this. It's okay. It was kind of once you played it, a couple levels, it was a little tedious and repetitive. So it was okay. I platinumed those, got them done. Now I just have to figure out what I'm going to play next. But Ryan, what did you watch? That's the most important thing.
It's not. Not as much. I've rewatched a bunch, and I don't have a list of every single thing I rewatched. But I did rewatch and change up my ratings for American Werewolf in London and the 1978 Halloween.
Nice.
I went to theaters to see The Empty Man, which I'll get back to. I feel like everyone hates that movie who has seen it, but I really liked it. I watched Pride and Prejudice and Zombies for the first time. My average rating for the week was really bad because of movies like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I watched.
That's a masterpiece, sir.
It is as forced as Pride and Prejudice and Zombies without being a book. It's a bad movie. Watched the 1988 version of The Blob and the 1998 Ringu because I've seen The Ring and the 58 The Blob, so I just kind of felt like completing those sets of remakes. Ringu holds up really well. I was surprised at like an indie 90s Japanese film that's become a more famous American adaptation being particularly creepy. So that's a good recommendation. I watched Rebecca. Watched the 2018 Halloween. And Matt, I remember talking to you about that after you guys saw it. And I think I agree. It's okay, and then the ending happens, and then it's kind of not as okay.
It's okay. We'll get a sequel in a year. So
yeah,
we'll see what
I don't
happens
know.
then.
I thought it was a little bit overrated. Everyone was like, "It's revitalizing the genre," and I'm like, "Is it? Is it just, or just killing teenagers again?"
That is the genre.
Yeah, but and I don't know. There were some really questionable choices in that movie, and they kept trying to add like meaningful things where it's like, "Oh, Michael's been waiting for this to get after Laurie," and I'm like, "Yeah, but he's not even like going after Laurie. He's just kind of doing his own thing, and then he happenstances his way to her house via cop car." Yeah, that's my week.
Well, there's I remember we talked about this a few videos ago where there is a sequel confirmed, like a next one, and it's her granddaughter that's going to be like the main focus. Now, I've never seen the 2018 version, so I don't know anything about it, but they said, oh, Jamie Lee Curtis is going to kind of be in it, but she's not going to be the focal point of it. So.
No. All right. Well, while you guys were doing that,
I had one more.
Oh.
I forgot to rate it, so it wasn't on my list. I had two more. I'm sorry. I watched Casper for the first time because I've never seen it. Yeah, like the Friendly Ghost.
Oh,
it's okay. It's fine. And I watched the original The Witches from 1990 for the first time because I was going to watch the new one, and I don't care about the new one because I thought the original was really bad.
It's it's early 90s, late 80s, like family feature, like straight to video.
Yeah.
And that kind of like I hold that dearly. Like that just gives me like such a nostalgic feeling watching it. And that's probably why I have like rose-colored glasses when I think about that movie. But this new one, god awful. God awful. So enjoy.
I will try to check it out by next week at least because we're gonna try to get through some. I've watched the old one. I might as well sit through the new one. I wasn't really ready for at least an hour of two mice running around. Hey, talking
to be fair, like when I was little, that whole like kids getting trapped in paintings used to freak me out like mentally. Like that just creeped me out so much. That's missing from this movie.
I'm gonna get a painting and put like a little mat in the background.
So weird. So weird.
All right. As I was saying, I watched The Invitation which was really good. I really liked that movie. It's very much a slow burn, as it says. It is like nothing happens till like the last 20 minutes of the movie. But I think that the director, Karen I don't remember how you pronounce her last name, Kasuma. Like she does a really good job like building that tension, especially with the score. Like I thought that was really good. State of the Union, which was based on a novella by Nicholas Hornsby, who does High Fidelity and stuff, and that was on Amazon or AMC Plus. So it's like one of those other ones that you have to like kind of like look for, and it's like 10 minutes, and they're like 10 episodes, and they were like it's so well acted by Rosamund Pike and Chris O'Dowd that it's just 10 minutes of them like talking right before they go into like their marriage counseling, and it's just like this raw kind of visceral like look on like real marriage and like marriage in your 40s and like after you have children and everything. But if you want like a free trial just to kind of waste like an hour or like 100 minutes, I'd definitely like take the free trial and just kind of watch this. It's really breezy. It's really fun. And if you like High Fidelity and things like that, I would check it out. Watch Sinister, which was, sorry, it was fucking bizarre. Poor Ethan Hawke. Like he doesn't like, I don't know. He's done like these couple horror movies where he's just kind of like, just in these weird positions or situations, I should say. And The Kill List, which was, I watched this. I was meaning to watch this because of Ben Wheatley, who's actually the director of the movie that we're going to talk about this week. I've been wanting to watch this because I watched High Rise like a while ago, and I really liked High Rise, and like I like his like some of his style. But this movie was just off the wall. Like you can tell like this was made like on a shoestring budget, and like the production value was just kind of low. And like with these thick English accents, like I have nothing against like these English accents, and I love England and people and some of their films and stuff. But these guys had like these thick English accents, and I couldn't understand a word that they were saying. I had to like Wikipedia this and like was like, what's going on? And so I read like the Wikipedia plot, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
Didn't just throw on those subtitles?
Did, and then it was still so bizarre. Like it was just like so weird, and it was just like this. It's like this Wicker Man plot that, like at the ending, is just the ending to kind of throw me
Not
off.
the bees. Anytime anybody ever mentions that movie, I have to say that it's a rule. Sorry.
All right. But yeah, that's what I watched. I was gonna watch Halloween 2018. I didn't get around to it, so I wanted to see it just for nostalgia
But
reasons.
then you had standards.
Yeah, apparently. But yeah. So are we ready for the news?
Yay! Give us the news. Who died this week?
Our childhood, apparently.
Yeah.
So Tiny Toons is getting a revival. HBO Max. Yay! Everybody excited about this?
I don't even know what that is.
Me neither.
Really?
Holy
You guys
crap.
have no clue what
Oh
Tiny
my
Toons
God.
is?
Oh, Tiny Toons. I thought you said
Yes.
something else. Okay, I forgot that you put that in.
Tiny
the message.
Toons.
Yes. Tiny Toons.
You still don't know what that is, Ryan?
Oh, not a clue.
Yeah, I used
Oh
to
my
watch
gosh.
that.
Is it Looney Tunes, but like tiny?
Bingo.
They're like babies.
Oh,
Kind of.
Babies.
They're like in elementary school / middle
They're in
school.
Tooniversity.
that sounds exciting.
Tooniversity.
I'd play the theme song, but we'd probably get flagged with another copyright.
Yeah,
claim.
Matt, don't do that
Probably.
crap again. I don't want another slap on the wrist.
Well, we just won't get money for this. We don't anyway, but anyway. So Cartoon Network and HBO Max are partnering with Amblin Entertainment to bring Tiny Toons, a 2-season straight-to-series Tiny Toons revival. Yay.
I mean, just go to the well again. We'll just, rebrand and revamp and reboot all this old stuff. I'm sure we'll probably end up getting like I'm trying to think of any other show from back then. Rescue Rangers reboot, maybe, from Disney.
Probably.
Boo.
Yeah.
What? Are you booing Rescue Rangers?
No, I'm not booing Rescue Rangers. I'm booing that it shouldn't be messed with.
Okay.
Or that it should be messed with. Like, do not mess with it. Like, leave it alone. It's like Back to the Future. It's a great movie. Don't mess with it. Leave it in its time. Don't do it.
It's funny that you mentioned Back to the Future. In other news, Fox is reboot. I'm just kidding.
Back to the Future 4. No!
It'll happen.
We do.
Everyone will die. It'll happen.
Yeah, somebody will. No, I think I had read somewhere something about the whole. Remember the fridge scene, and I know we don't acknowledge its presence most of the time, but in Indiana 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Ryan, I know.
Indiana 4.
It's like Voldemort.
It's the one where he golfs.
It's the. We don't say its name, but anyway, I remembered reading that was a concept that they were going to do in the in Back to the Future. Not have him, launch from a fridge, but like have a fridge be the mode of traveling through time. I'd read that, I think, somewhere. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm just making crap up.
Is the refrigerator the only thing that you had to connect with Indiana Jones?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't. Oh man, a fridge? Let me tell you about Indiana Jones.
Anyway, any thoughts on Tiny Toons coming back? They did Animaniacs. This was kind of inevitable.
I think there's more of a following for Animaniacs, sort of. So I don't think Tiny Toons covets the revival. Or it shouldn't. I'm like, it was okay. I remember we would have it on just to have it on. It wasn't like super entertaining, but I guess that's what kids do. They just have things on to have them on. They're not really paying attention. They're just, it's eye stimulation, mind stimulation, all that. No, it's weird. I don't want it. I don't need it.
I think that Animaniacs had like a bigger following than Tiny Toons, but
that's what I'm saying.
Didn't they come on the same channels, like back to back? Like I feel like they were both on Fox, and they came on like in the afternoons, like one after each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it was Tiny Toons first. Yeah.
Yeah. From what I remember, Animaniacs, I don't want to say edgy, but they're like the humor and what they talked about, or at least how subtly they talked about things, was kind of edgy as far as like cartoons go. So.
Yeah,
slightly suggestive.
Yeah,
a little
suggestive. Yeah, so I'm interested to see how that plays out with this reboot. If they'll go that same route, I'm sure they will. I mean, kids today have the internet; they know everything, so they have to do something kind of creative.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Moon Knight finds its director Mohammed Daib and its lead in Oscar Isaac. Do you guys know who Moon Knight is?
Nope, I had never heard of it before you shared it.
Okay, so Moon Knight is a Marvel character who is like a cross between like Daredevil and like Batman. He was a mercenary who has numerous alter egos such as Cabby, blah, 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 in order to better fight the criminal underworld. He establishes being a conduit for the Egyptian moon god Khonshu, after being left dead for a mission in Egypt. So he's kind of a mercenary, like a vigilante type. And they said that they were going to do Moon Knight with She-Hulk and like Miss Marvel and stuff like that. So they were waiting for like directors and stuff for this. Yeah, I'm kind of on board with this.
Hold on, I just pulled up this character's Wikipedia. Apparently, his abilities are. His current abilities are: he's an expert detective. He's proficient in martial arts and armed combat.
Wait a minute.
And he utilizes high-tech equipment. Now you're like, all right, that sounds exactly like Batman. I'm going to go to the next category, which is abilities formally. Increased strength, speed, and endurance depending on the lunar cycle. Is this guy like a werewolf? What is this? When did he lose? When did he lose these powers? Could he only be like a superhero during the full moon? Like all the rest of the time, he's like, well, I can't do anything. I don't have any powers right now. As soon as that full moon hits, I'm gonna be prowling the street, making sure everybody's safe.
It was like 4 days. I don't know.
Like,
I've never
he's
read
got like
Moon Knight.
his calendar marked days
Yep.
to fight crime.
To-do list. He's probably got reminders on his phone. Bing. I've never read Moon Knight. Like my Marvel knowledge goes only so far, and it's probably towards the top tier A-listers, and Daredevil is even pushing it. So I like Oscar Isaac. I think he's a good actor. This director seems to be capable, I guess. It says Oscar Isaac is currently in negotiations, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to be Moon Knight. So, cool. Next up, Assassin's Creed is getting a live-action TV series from Netflix.
Hey guys, remember when that was a movie? Remember when they made that into a movie? And Michael Fassbender was in it? You guys remember that?
Yeah, I do, unfortunately.
I thought I was making that up. I thought that was a fever dream. I didn't realize that actually existed.
So, you all know that I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan.
Oh,
I love these games. Okay, I had rose-colored glasses when I watched the movie. I thought that like the stuff that happened in the past was really cool, and then the stuff that happened in the present was okay. I didn't hate the movie as bad as I thought I would, but I didn't really love it. This is just annoying. 3 years ago, they said that they were going to make an anime series, and I'm still waiting on that. Now they're saying that they're going to make a live action series, and I'm going to be betting that I'm going to be waiting another 5 years for that.
No, man. They got the funding. They canceled that Dark Crystal nonsense.
They keep dropping other shows along with it too. But what's kind of weird about this whole deal is I guess they're doing like a live action series, and then they're going to do the anime, and then they're going to do like a film along with it. I think that's what I read. I'm looking at the article now.
sounds like they're running before they learn how to crawl.
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to be like Yeah, it says that the Assassin's Creed, which is described as an epic genre-bending project, will have the live-action TV series. The series is also developing the game's animated and anime adaptations. So I don't know if that means that they're getting like a Disney movie and then the anime, or what?
Well, I remember not watching the movie because of so many bad reviews. But with that aside, I think a live action can be decent. I mean, they took The Witcher and they made that successful. So I guess it's just a matter of whose hands it's in. So I actually think that there's a lot of good material that's there that can be good, be made into a good series. Again, depending on what the budget is and who's handling it. So I'm not as much into Assassin's Creed as you, but I think it's a decent idea. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I am not like pessimistic about it like entirely. I'm just like, all right, let's wait and see. There's potential.
Yeah, I mean, if they do it kind of like Witcher, I think that they just need to keep a lot of it in the past and just keep having like these, like the present story, kind of like the back end of it. If that makes sense.
I agree, because I've said it a numerous amount of times. I've never cared for the current modern timeline in the series of this game, because I couldn't care less about it. We're here for, the past assassins and the what they go through and the whole bloodline of assassins. So that's what we're interested in. We don't. Me personally, I do not care about the modern stuff. So why even focus on that?
Exactly. Oh well. Next up, Michael B. Jordan is being eyed to direct Creed 3. Apparently, this is an interview with Irwin Winkler, who's the producer of the Creed movies. He said that he promised Michael B. Jordan that he can get his chance to direct Creed 3, and he offered him, of course, to star and to direct. I think this would be kind of a good thing. Like I didn't see Creed 2, to be honest with you.
Neither did I.
I watched the first one and I was like, hey, it's Rocky, but modern. And I'm not really a big Rocky fan anyway, so I'll leave this up to you guys and like what you guys think.
I'm a casual fan. I think they're just, it's, Rocky had a series of 5, technically 6 movies. And, they're giving him the same treatment. It's like, it's that same audience. They want to line a movie, so that's what they're giving him. Has Michael B. Jordan directed anything else? Would this be his debut?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't think I've seen Creed 2 either, actually, now that I think about it. But I really enjoyed the first one. And it seems to be a character that he's pretty passionate about. So I think he's probably going to try to do the best job possible. I mean, everyone has to have their first chance directing if they want to direct. So this is his shot. I mean, I'm sure he's not going to do a horrible job at it. And like I said, he's passionate about the character. So he's probably just going to bring it. And it'll probably be fine.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be the same. Honestly, I don't actually think there's going to be much of a difference. I think he's probably going to try and bring up a little more drama. That's my personal feeling. Like that's what I think he's going to do. But I honestly don't think you'll be able to tell a difference between 1 and 2 and then 3 now.
Cool.
It's pretty good.
It was pretty good.
Oh, now is it better? Is it better, worse, or same as the first? If you've seen it,
I mean, it's hard. I think it's hard to beat the first Creed. I think the first Creed does. I think it walks the fine line between being a reboot and a sequel really, really well. And I mean, as much as it's not like my favorite movie ever. I don't have any problems with that movie.
Right.
So I think it does. I think that's a really exceptional way to kind of bring that franchise back. So 2 is obviously a step down. I think the concept is a little silly. But I mean, we're on Rocky 8 now. So
True.
Yeah. I mean, I would be content with Rocky and Creed and no other movies. But I'm all for especially stars they get to direct. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Clint. It's like I'm more or less a casual fan of Rocky. I'm not super into them. They're definitely not my favorite like boxing movie. I remember seeing Southpaw in 2015 or 16, and I thought that one was really good. Jake Gyllenhaal was really good in that one. So it's like, am I excited for it? On an average point scale, but do I think he'll be okay in it? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, bring it on. I gotta watch the second one before I catch up to that.
So you got something else, Ryan?
I was just saying, I'm more excited to see Michael B. Jordan's produced Static Shock movie, but
yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
There wasn't that much information about it, so
yeah. Okay. So Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings has wrapped up its principal photography, and Spider-Man 3 has started its principal photography. Yay! Anybody excited for Shang-Chi? Shang-Chi, anybody? You were excited for some Shang-Chi?
What is that? Some type of herbal tea?
Yeah, I'm not understanding the words coming out of your mouth, Clint.
No, honestly, before all the schedule came out, I'd never even heard of it. I don't know what it is.
He's the world's greatest kung fu master.
I'm sorry, I thought Jackie Chan was that.
I thought Bruce Lee was that.
I thought Jet Li was that.
No, man, he's the best in Mulan. I am the emperor.
I am the emperor.
Okay, so apparently this is an MCU movie, and you guys need to pay attention because this is going to be vital and important, apparently, in this Phase 4, because it's going to be a full Asian cast by a full Asian production company and a Asian director, and so they're breaking boundaries, guys, and we need to pay attention.
That sounds familiar.
Shot in New Zealand.
Yeah, shot in New Zealand.
I think it was shot in San Francisco, but whatever.
I mean, it's close to Asia, you know.
Wow. Okay. This is it's actually a reference back to Iron Man 2 with the Mandarin. He's kind of the head of the 10 Rings, so it's like a criminal organization. So it's going to have a little dip from Iron Man 2. So watch Iron Man 2 before you get to this.
No, I'm
Are we
good.
gonna see Ben Kingsley in this one?
I don't think so.
Wait, you mean Iron Man 3?
Are they making Iron Man 3?
No,
No,
you mean Iron Man 3? It's the Mandarin.
It is the Mandarin's in Iron Man 3.
Oh,
The
that's
Mandarin Orange.
You're right. You're right. It is the man. He looked a little orange too. So Spider-Man 3 started production as well. Exciting. Yay.
That also means that Uncharted finished production, right? Or
that is true. Apparently it was like a day later, and then this started.
Tom Holland
Whoa.
can't stop working. He's like, all right, next project. Let's do this.
Never stop, never stopping. So Mr. Holland is a busy man. So interesting. Next up, more Zack Snyder news. Are you guys ready for this?
This
No.
week on
Stop. Who's coming back?
Is it Uma Thurman? Is she gonna be Poison Ivy again? Please tell me this is true.
No. This is Joe Manganiello. He's coming back as Deathstroke. I don't know how he's going to pull a character out of
Steel Magnolias.
30 seconds. Wasn't he like 30 seconds in the last
Yeah,
movie?
he only got that end credit scene. That's it.
He didn't even say anything, did he?
He maybe had like one line of dialogue. Other than that, no.
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess I don't know. It could have been Jesse Eisenberg being all weird and sitting there with his baldness.
All right, that's somebody's homework. We got to figure out if he had any dialogue in Justice League.
But I am like all in favor of him coming back because I thought he was a good. I mean, regardless of how much he had airtime, I think he's a good fit for the role. That's just me personally, and I am excited about that. This is one of the good like additions among the thousands of people being added to it.
I don't know if it's just him playing the role, but I think Deathstroke is just a fun character in general, and
That's
needs
right,
to be more prominent in some type of film at some point. So if he's going to come in and shoot more than just a little stinger for the credits, that's great. Get him out there, chopping someone up with a sword.
That's right.
I
Are we
thought you
gonna
guys
take-
were going to be really negative, so I was going to be sarcastically positive. But you guys are positive.
So then he's gonna be like, oh yeah, maybe he'll be like the Deathstroke in Suicide Squad, where it's chopped and edited very poorly. I know how
we
this
have
man
to
feels.
be positive now, man. It's just it's sad at this point. We can't be negative
No,
anymore.
we have nothing else to say about it.
Yeah, so we're just being positive. I mean, it's a good thing. Bring Deathstroke back. Give him his own movie. Maybe that's what they'll do. He's just gonna film a whole Deathstroke movie to go in between his Justice League recut.
I know the amount of content that's in there. It's gonna be like a 6-hour movie, and everybody's gonna have their own
movie
arc. Yeah, their own arc in there.
Well, who's taking bets on Eisenberg coming back? Anybody?
Oh, yeah, probably. As much as I don't like that.
What's he doing anyway?
Nothing. I give it a week. I give it a week until we hear, oh, Jesse Eisenberg is returning as Lex Luthor. Yay.
No, the real question is, when is Kevin Spacey coming back? That's the real question.
Never. That man has
burned some bridges.
Burned some bridges. Thank you.
No, I remember I've proposed this this like thought like of Bryan Cranston being Lex Luthor. Like, why I just never understood why that never was approached. Like, I remember he had some type of interview where fans were all like, dude, you need to be doing this. And he kind of addressed it a little bit, like, I don't know, nobody's talked to me about it. But I'm just like, this man, now, granted, he probably might be a little too recognizable as Walt Whitman from Breaking Bad. Who knows? But I think this man needs to be Lex Luthor at some point in his life, honestly.
I think at the time it was probably just a little too on the nose, and it was just too easy for them to do that. They had to
do it now then.
And plus, Jesse Eisenberg was pretty hot coming off of Social Network, so that's why they queued him up for that.
Probably.
I still say boo.
Boo.
Not to the actor himself, just it's like Tom Holland in Uncharted. I don't like it. The actor's good. The actor's fine. I just don't. It's bad cast.
Well, yeah, because I mean, he wasn't like a presence like he is in the comic books. Like Jesse Eisenberg, like I don't know. There's just something about his performance in BVS that was just like he's like a clown, like in the whole movie. Like I just didn't. He wasn't just. I don't know. I can't explain it. All right, moving on. So Tim Burton is developing a Addams Family TV reboot, which is like perfect. Just gonna say, like, and as I posted on our page, like I don't understand why this hasn't happened sooner. Like it just seems like this would be right up his alley.
Yeah, it's like there was chocolate and there's peanut butter. Why didn't we put this together, guys? Come on.
I feel like maybe Tim Burton's finally run out of ideas, so he's just looking for stuff that fits his like persona, and he's like, "All right, this will work. I'm gonna go ahead and try to make Addams Family."
I think he ran out of ideas when he decided to remake Planet of the Apes, and I think Tim Burton's never made a good remake.
Oh no, not Dumbo.
I mean,
yeah, not Dumbo.
Dark Shadows. So,
yeah, I think this is perfect. It doesn't really say like where it's being pitched to, who it's being pitched to. It just says that it's in development.
Who's Johnny Depp gonna play?
Lurch. So yeah,
you heard it here first. We just called that. He's gonna be Lurch. I feel like that's a good choice, man. And Helena Bonham Carter is probably going to be the little hand thing, the thing.
Oh, maybe not Cousin It.
Yeah.
Did I hear that there was going to also be a sequel to the Addams Family, like the one that came out last year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Animated? Yes.
Yeah. I can't remember if we talked about that on this video, but I was like, I'm good. That one was so bland too. It was just like it had an interesting, like it's Addams Family. It's interesting, but it just wasn't as executed very well. So I would, if I was to go either route with the sequel or the series, I'd probably jump on the series wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I'm in the minority or not, but I think that Barry Sonnenfeld probably directed like the best TV adaptation with the Addams Family. The first one, at least. Like the second one was just a little over the top, but I liked the first one, and I don't think that I've seen like a better TV adaptation into film.
I would second that.
especially with those old 50s like TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, don't know when this is coming, but it's coming. Next up, we have the official look at Tom Holland as Mr. Drake, Mr. Nathan Drake.
Alex over here being so defeated. You know it's a good photo, man. They touched it up nice.
Yeah,
Come
I know.
on.
Before Matt had even said anything about it, I was just like, it does look spot on, but whatever, man. I'm still not convinced. He can take it. People can make good cosplay, but doesn't mean the movie gonna be good. I'm gonna be super pessimistic about it.
Come on, guys. Let's look at it. Tom Holland and all his Nathan Drake glory.
Yeah, see, I think they just screen capped the game and then just kind of like Photoshop Tom Holland's head like right there.
They deep faked his face on there.
That's a pretty good compliment, though, if you think about that.
Now, see, the thing I'm not giving it a break on, and that we often forget to mention, is that it's when this movie takes place is actually before the very first game that came out. So it's like well before that. So he's younger and should probably look younger. Hence,
there you go, Alex.
Holland.
Keep going with that thought, man. I think you're going to turn yourself into a fan of this.
No,
film. Keep going.
No,
that route.
I'm just justifying the picture, but I'm not going to justify its quality
So you're telling
or lack
me
thereof.
This is after Mr. Drake just finishes high school or college. He's coming out and now he's going to like temples and stuff.
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, see, now it all makes sense.
But like Mark Wahlberg, he's supposed to play Sully or Victor Sullivan, and he's not going to have a mustache or anything in there. And I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah, man.
Like if you played the third game, they go back and talk about, them meeting when he was like, I don't know, probably like 14 or 15. And he sports a mustache then and gives the implication that he's always done it. So it's like, dude, come on. He doesn't even look like it. Take the mustache out of the equation. He doesn't look anything like him. Like, what is the point? And Matt's just sitting over here, just enjoying all of me stewing in this anger that is this production. I'm going to go see it. I'm going to be first in line, and I'm going to hate it, and I'm going to probably buy the movie.
There's going to be a poster right behind you, Uncharted. You're going to have like a T-shirt, like a hat on.
I actually have from one of those collector's editions of one of the other games, I have the ring. I have no idea where it is right now, but I do have that somewhere.
Okay.
Sorry.
Alex,
that was my rant.
It'll be fine. I promise.
It's okay, man. He doesn't have a mustache. You'll be fine.
I know. Clint's going to be like, I'll go with you. If it's bad, I'll take you out of the theater. Yeah. We'll go get some ice cream.
Well, maybe Zack Snyder can get a hand on the movie after it's come out and can like digitally put a mustache on Wahlberg for you.
I know he
reverse cavill this.
He took a mustache off a dude. Now he can put a mustache on a dude.
That's true.
There you go.
Well, technically that was Joss Whedon, so.
Oh yeah, that's true. But still.
And he's not allowed to work anymore.
Yeah, Marky Mark's gotta have a mustache. Sorry.
Okay, so let's take this next bit of news with a large grain of salt. According to smallscreen.co in the UK, Keaton has signed on to star as Bruce Wayne in an HBO Max Batman Beyond series. It's going to be a live-action series, and he is signed on to come back to The Flash, and that he is signed on to be Bruce Wayne in the Batman Beyond series. Again, just pointing this out there, just kind of like, this would be cool.
Take this with a nice mountain of salt that just comes in.
With that being said, I actually don't think it's, out of the realm of possibilities, and I think it's a decent idea because I like Batman Beyond and Bruce Wayne's involvement in that, and I can totally see him doing that. I mean, I don't think we even mentioned him when we did our review of the Chicago 7 and how he's in it. I mean, he was in it in limited capacity, be it, but
I was gonna say he was in it for like 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, but he still like is like, because how long ago was 1989 Batman? Yeah, I mean, he's still looking pretty decent, like considering that was, over 30 years ago. So, I'm like, I can see him still playing Batman.
I don't think Michael Keaton's gonna lower himself to doing a series right now. He just does films on his resurgence.
I think he should be more open to that.
I agree with you, Alex, because the timeline is kind of fit, because in Batman Beyond he is what, 60 or 70, and he can't really do this anymore. Mm-hmm. So he passes it on to Terry or whoever his name is. I didn't really get into the series.
Who is played by Will Friedle, who plays Eric on Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World, yeah.
Yep.
So
just knew that information.
I think that it would be perfect. I think it kind of like come full circle. I think that'd be kind of neat to do it come full circle. But I'm with Matt. Like Keaton is kind of like Liam Neeson himself. Like he's found some sort of niche, and people are wanting him back in the movies. So I don't know. Like I said, I take this with a grain of salt.
Is that playing his niche is playing the guy who found McDonald's?
Yes.
I knew it. I knew he's always playing that guy from McDonald's.
He invented the hamburger. So, but yeah, I don't know. 2 more things. One real quick. This is for my Glee. Archer has been renewed for 12th season. Yay,
Lana!
Yeah, I love that show. I liked Dreamland. I didn't really care for Danger Island. This last one, what was it, 2099 or something like that? The one before he comes out of his coma was pretty good. I need to catch up on this last season. So, last bit of news. Cyberpunk has been delayed another 3 weeks.
Boo.
LOL. It's never going to come out, man. They're going to keep pushing it back. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I don't think they're confident. I don't think they're confident with this game at all where they're at least as far as people's expectations are. And I think right now, they're just going to keep pushing it back. I mean, they'll probably even push it back. I can see them pushing it back another week or two just to make it closer to Christmas so people buy it for Christmas and before reviews come out.
Wait, is this the New Mutants of video games now?
It could be, except this one's actually supposed to be good.
Oh.
No, I remember they did this when now Kingdom Hearts 3 narrowly doesn't have the amount of delays. Just a long development process. But I remember it was like set for, I think, December or very, very early the next year. I mean, it still was very early, but it got pushed back like 2 to 3 weeks. Only when they do that, it's just for the whole shipping purposes. I mean, because they said, I read that article, Clint, and it said something about releasing it on 9 different platforms is the challenge. It's like not only is it 9 platforms, it's 2 generations that they're doing. And I think they said it was more catered to the PS5 more than anything else. And it's a challenge that they're trying to overcome in editing it and just getting it. I mean, has it even gone gold? I tried to remember if
I think it has. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
it has.
I thought so too, but they were making it kind of weird. Like, it's gone gold, but we're still editing it, and I'm like, then it's not gone gold. I mean, they're still kind of adding more and more stuff. I think that's their whole thing. They're and I'm concerned because they're making it very similar to Marvel Avengers, where they released like a third of a game and they're just adding crap later on. And by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this, I think Marvel Avengers has turned out to be a very mediocre game. I mean, it's got a 6-hour story and the gameplay is so monotonous and just so boring after a while. It's just like, I'm a little disappointed with it. I mean, I'm actually really disappointed with it. So I'm worried that it might be that similar route that they're doing. But I think the delay is more about shipping than anything. And that, I mean, and it's evident. It was what, November 19th, and they push it back to 10th of December. So
this game's been in development for almost 10 years now, I think. I know they announced it, I think, in 2013. So that means they'd at least have to have been working on it at least probably a year before that, before they announced it. So it's been in development for a long time, and this is a huge investment for them. And I was just joking before, just mainly because of how people reacted. They like I said, they're just polishing it up, making sure everything's ready. Alex brought up a good point. I mean, there's so many different systems and formats for this game to go out on. And they want it to go as smoothly as possible. I still wouldn't be surprised if they pushed it back even more, because it's a huge investment. And coming from the people that brought The Witcher, they want a game that's going to come out, be good, and be long lasting. You have GTA 5 that's people have been playing it for almost that long, and that's what they want. I think for this game, they want that longevity. They want people to keep playing it. They want this to be when the PS6 comes out, they want this to be one of the games that goes to that. So it's a couple weeks, and it could just be for logistics, shipping, who knows. But yeah, let them take their time, let people get angry. It is what it is. It'll come out when they want it to.
Right. Okay, so I have two questions because I'm kind of naive when it comes to this. First off, 9 platforms. So you have the PS5, the Series X, the 4, the Xbox One, Switch?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, what's the other 4?
That's a good question.
Are they counting like PC and Mac?
PC, yeah. So that's 6.
Are they counting that?
And Mac,
or which Xboxes? Are they counting like the different variations of the Xbox?
I don't know.
I have no idea, but I remember it saying 9, and I'm like, maybe do they count? Yeah, maybe do they say that Xbox Series X and S are 2 different platforms? I actually wouldn't go past that, because they said that the processing power on the S is actually lower than the X. So, I mean, they may count it, but the PS5, one is the exact same as the other, just without a disc tray. So,
this says,
I don't know.
This says Xbox Series X and Series S, Xbox One and Xbox One X, PS4, PS4 Pro, PS5, PC, and Stadia. So that's 9. I don't know what Stadia. Okay. But yeah, they counted.
Nobody's gonna play this Stadia.
They've got 4 variations of the Xbox and 3 variations of the PlayStation. So.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so my second question
eventually it'll come out on Switch.
Okay, so my second question is what does it mean to go gold? Okay, because Valhalla
it's just done.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say Valhalla went gold like a month ago, so I was just kind of curious what that.
Yeah, that just means they're done with the core, like meat and potatoes and skeleton and all of it's fleshed out. I mean, anything else they add later on is just gravy at this point. It's just like it just means that they're done with the game, the core game.
Okay, cool. Then Valhalla's done. Okay, that's the news. Unless you guys have anything else. Anything else? Nothing?
Nope.
Heads are shaking. Okay, so then let's get to our movie this week. This week we watched Rebecca, which was starring Lily James, Archie Hammer, and directed by Ben Wheatley. It is about a nameless, what do you call her? What do they call her in the movie?
Is she like a countess or a lady or
lady in waiting or something? Something like that. So she's a lady in waiting.
She's basically a paid friend.
Yeah. And her friend is not very nice. So she's a paid friend that is swept up by Maxim De Winter. Thank you. And they get married, and she comes to find out that he has a wife that has passed away, and romantic drama ensues. So I'm going to take lead on this one because I loved Hitchcock, and I love the first one. It is technically a remake of the book, I guess. I would give this like a 7.5. Push it to maybe 8, because for me, these are two different movies. For the first, like if you compare Hitchcock does a very good job of making the house like a character. And if you watch like the original one, like the house only almost becomes like a character, like in Haunting of Hill House. Like there's something about the house that just kind of like has that ominous presence. And with this one, it does a better job of creating a character for Rebecca, and why his wife and her presence in the house was a little bit more ominous than the original. I thought the acting was done really well, like the scenery and the shots and everything were done really well. The cinematography was done really well. I liked Emma Thompson in this. I think that she did a really good job. But there was just, I don't know, there was just something about that ending, and I'm not going to spoil it, but there's something about that ending that just didn't land with me. With the original, like it's more prominent, like it's more, like you can feel like her presence and stuff like that, and the reasons and why the ending happens the way that it does. But in this one, it was just kind of like, yep, this is what I did.
Kristen Scott Thomas.
Kristen Scott Thomas. Yeah, I was checking. I was like, that's not right.
Yeah, so Kristen Scott Thomas, she does a good job, and I think the actors do a really good job in all of this. But like I said, there's just some little things that comparatively, and I was trying not to compare it to Hitchcock's, but there are just some things that I couldn't help. But I think this one does a better job of creating that ominous presence with Rebecca herself, and with the original, it's more of the house. The house becomes more of a character. Yeah, I give about an 8. So I think the acting was done really well.
Okay,
yeah,
who's next?
I'm gonna completely disagree with Clint on this. I am going to go ahead and say I'm going to give this movie a 4.5 out of 10.
Wow.
The biggest reason I think this film fails, it's just the simplest thing I can say is almost casting. I think Armie Hammer and Lily James are completely miscast in this. One thing, and I'm going to compare it to the 1940 version. I'm sorry, I haven't read the book. I don't know what happens in the book. I can only go by what I've seen in the 1940 movie. So I'm gonna compare it to that. One of the biggest reasons the movie, the 1940 version works, is because of the age difference between these two actors. When what's her name? What's the main character's name? The Lily.
She doesn't have a name.
She doesn't have a name.
Yeah, she doesn't have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her
Mrs.
getting
De Winter.
thrust, Mrs. De Winter. Her getting into that manner, showing up there, she's supposed to be overwhelmed, and I never got that once. That naivety, that young, like immaturity from Lily James. I never got that once. And on top of that, Armie Hammer didn't seem old and like he'd been through a marriage. He just was brooding the entire time, and I've seen that from him before in literally every movie that he does. That is his thing. That is what he does. I was watching a Winklevoss twin, just brooding around. I did not like that. And that's the crux of the movie right there. I mean, sure, you can say Rebecca is, the main thing, but those two people are your front and center pieces, with Rebecca looming behind them and the house. And that just didn't work for me at all. Also, comparing it to the original, they basically took the original and basically Netflixified it. They're like, we need to make this creepier. We need to make him, and I don't know if in the book he sleepwalks. He didn't do it in the 1940 version, but he does it in this one apparently. Just sleepwalk into a room just to make things creepier, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason they did it, because it didn't really show up any other time in this movie. Also, the music. You know, Netflix, I'm usually very happy with what Netflix songs they put into a movie. Why did they put some of these songs in this movie that did not fit the scene at all? And that's one of the best things about the original Rebecca, is the whole scoring of it, and that it's actually almost a character in itself, how it dictates how each scene feels. I didn't like it. Like I said, the main crux, the reason that I didn't like it the most is because of that casting and the acting from those two actors. The supporting cast was great, mind you. I thought they were really good. I thought Miss Devers was probably one of the best things in the movie. Of course, that's a fun role to play, I would assume. And that was fine. But I couldn't get it. And once I watched it initially, I was not a fan. And then I watched the 1940 again, and I hadn't watched that probably in 15 to 20 years. And I was just blown away at the difference between the cinematography, the black and white cinematography of that one, and the overtly done CGI in this movie. And why would you do so much CGI in this film as far as like weather goes? It didn't make any sense to me. I almost want to say just less is more, man. They don't have to add so much stuff to this movie. Keep it simple. Let the story dictate itself. There was just too much going on. The casting was bad. The music was bad. And there was just too much. Keep it simple. That's a 4 out of 5 out of 10. I'm done ranting for right now.
Ryan, I'll let you. I'll go last.
Well, I thought I was gonna like it less than Matt, but actually, I think I gave it a 5. I didn't feel like there was enough that I utterly hated about it to give it any lower. I didn't care for it. I was mostly just bored. The pacing was really sluggish, and I think that comes from a critical error they make early on with its really poor character setups. I love that. I believe it's the first time you meet De Winter in the original. He's like standing at the edge of a cliff, and I thought that was such an interesting way to introduce kind of a typical 40s suave protagonist. And this one, he's just like in a French cafe, and I'm like, you don't get any of your strong, compelling character arc at the beginning, and so I spent the entire film hating De Winter and Armie Hammer's performance of him. I thought he was a pretty bad casting choice. Matt, I agree with you in every way there. He was brooding. I can see why he got it for the direction they were going, but the direction they were going made me really dislike the character. I never felt conflicted about liking him. And I mean, he's no Laurence Olivier, of course, but I mean, you hate to love De Winter in the original, but you kind of do anyway. On the other hand, though, I thought Lily James did a decent enough job. Don't really want to go into it too much. Maybe it's just because her character shined more than Maxim's. Didn't care for the score. The editing had some really confusing moments. There were a lot of sequences that were thrown in there to just be weird. And I think that's just trying to update it a little bit or add tension. But I mean, there's enough tension in that story already. And it drug on too long. I liked the added focus on the relationship between Rebecca and especially Miss Danvers. I thought that was something that was interesting, and you get a lot of it in the original, but this one actually kind of made it more of a focus by the end. Probably too much of a focus. I think it was just more the execution. As when we were watching it, Rachel actually pointed out how interesting it was. I don't want to give it away, but the lack of setup really hurts the payoff. And there's one thing that happens in the payoff that the 1941 does in its setup. And so it would have been very interesting to see them do it in the setup and then do it differently in the payoff for its characters. But they just don't capitalize on those opportunities. Matt, I agree with you again about it's hard to beat Oscar-winning cinematography. I don't think it was a bad-looking movie. But there's something that really stands out about the way they do the framing and camera movement and things in the original. And Clint Mansell's score is really boring. I tried to listen to it today, and I just did not care for it. So I gave it a 5 because I had watched a lot of worse movies this week. And I mean, I love Hitchcock. Rebecca's not my favorite Hitchcock film. It's nothing against it. I really, really like it. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, nothing against it. So it just, to me, I just didn't care enough one way or the other about this remake. I just don't understand why it exists in the first place. Every time, I mean, how many Hitchcock films have there been a remakes of? Just one? And it's just Psycho?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think so.
Yeah, and they just copied it frame by frame.
Yeah, and I'm like, can we please stop remaking films from one of the most influential filmmakers in history of film?
Is that, by the way, is that your number one Hitchcock? Psycho?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's an easy pick. I love The Birds a lot.
I was gonna say that's probably mine, but
I don't know. Rope is pretty great, actually, too. Kind
Notorious.
of a consolidated thriller there. Notorious, that's a good one. And yeah,
Strangers
that's
on
all I
the
have on
Train.
my bucket.
I like North by Northwest.
That's a good one.
okay.
Yeah.
So my turn. I think I'm the only one who hasn't seen the original, so I didn't have the delight of comparing this and brooding and hating it as much as Armie Hammer did. No, so I'm gonna start with some of the goods. Or I don't know. I thought I was gonna go pros and cons, but no. I'm leaning more towards Matt and Ryan's review of this. I think I kind of am resting in the middle. The casting, I didn't think. Again, I haven't seen the original, so I'd have nothing to compare it to. I didn't think the casting was terrible. I thought the acting was okay. I thought it was average. Nothing to write home about, but it certainly didn't make me hate the movie. I remember, pausing it, and because I do this when I'm like, okay, I've enjoyed this chunk. How long was this chunk? So I enjoyed the first half hour because I thought the scenery was really nice. I thought the actual story was decent. I was enjoying it, and her employer, for lack of, because I don't know her employer's name, like the mean old lady that she basically hires to be her friend. It was a good, even though she wasn't in it for very long, she was a good person to dislike, even though her acting was a little strange. So I found the story to be okay. That was the best part of the movie. I kind of agree with you guys about the music. Sometimes I thought it was okay. Like I was like when they're driving up to the manor or the whatever his estate. I was like, okay, this is kind of okay. It's a little it doesn't match up totally, but it almost kind of worked for me in an ironic sense. So I was like, okay, I get that. But then there were times where the music, I didn't feel like it wasn't like fitting. It was just weird. Like it almost sounded like there were times for me, like I thought somebody's cell phone was going off in the music. It was weird. I had to pause and I'm like, whose phone is that? My phone?
I call that the Gatsby effect.
Yeah.
I guess. And it was really weird. And I was just like, that's where I agree with you guys. That was terrible. And I was like, this sounds so stupid. And then other times it was better. So it kind of fluctuated. So I guess because of that, I would say it's a negative of the movie. But their chemistry was okay. It felt a little forced. I think Armie Hammer, maybe because after listening to Matt, I started, my review of it started going down. Yeah, and he just broods and just is just like all the time, and it's like you don't feel like you're on his side really ever. I think that changed a little bit towards the end when again, certain things happen. I'll go ahead. I was gonna spoil it, but I'm just not. I disagree with Clint a little bit on the house having an ominous tone, to it. I never felt that at all about the house itself. Like, I didn't feel like the house was a person. It was more, well, almost in the sense that Miss Davers, or what's her name? Devers? Devers. Yeah, it's only the only way that's true, Clint, is if she's in every room, which she's in. She's always there. She's like, hey, can I help you? Hey, don't do that. Hey, you're terrible. And so she's, I think, the best part of this movie because, like Matt said, it's a fun role to play and you can easily be creepy and like you're a good person, like similar to that person I mentioned before. She's a good person that you don't want to like at all. And she's really creepy. And, you know, that was a good part of the movie. The ending was, I think, sloppily put together. It was edited oddly. The demeanors of a lot of the characters are really not in sync at all. Like there's one character who's, you know, oh, like this and like that, he's actually kind of a nice guy, and then at some point he becomes kind of a douche, and then something turns his way where you know how he's going to act. He's going to act this way because of this result or this news that you hear, but no, he just is like, all right, bye. You know, I would say more about it, but that would ruin it. And I just thought it was weird. And like, there's a police investigation, and like they should be more concerned about the result, and they're not. Like, again, I can't really say, but there's something that happens, and they find out what happens, and then their demeanor and their overall just characteristics are just, they don't match up. They're so weird, and I didn't like it, and it just kind of ended, you know, as it did, and I didn't like it for what good I had in it. Just kind of, it was just like, it's almost like they ran out of money and go, hey man, we need to cut this. Do it, done, be done with this. Let's go to lunch. And so I texted you guys and I said I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. I thought it was okay, not terrible, but after convincing arguments from Matt and Ryan, I would probably say a 5.5. Again, I have nothing to compare it to, so I don't know. Maybe if I had watched the original version, I'd maybe even, you know, slice that review even more. But, you know, 5.5 I feel is very comfortable. And yeah, it's not something I would ever really want to watch again. It's okay.
Yep. Well, let's do spoilers because
spoilers. Yes,
turn off. Spoilers. Yeah, spoilers from now on. So, Alex, in the 1940s version, in Hitchcock's version, the house is more of a character. The house in the 40s version is like his essential place. And then with Hitchcock, he kind of, like I said, he makes it like a character, and like it's important, and like this house is like a thing of its own. Where like this one, like you kind of like, they get there and it's like, yeah, we're at Mandalay. Cool.
Yeah, I exactly feel that.
Yeah, okay. But with Hitchcock's version, it's like Mandalay is like a stay in that area. Like it's like a presence. Whereas like with this, because in the 40s version, Miss Danvers actually burns up with the house. And I liked that ending better than this one, because with that ending, you get a sense that like if Rebecca and Mrs. Danvers can't have Mandalay, nobody can. And that's where like Hitchcock does a better job of making the house kind of like a character itself. And she goes down with the house, and it's like, I'm going to go down with it, and you guys can't have it, and it's Rebecca's and it's mine, and like that's that. With this one, she kind of gives that whole like monologue, and then she like jumps off, and it's like, how far did she jump that she has to drown? And it's like, I thought like Hitchcock's ending, and I would have hoped that they would have done it with this one, but she doesn't go down with the house. She just kind of sets fires and like leaves, and it's like, deuces, people, I'm gonna go swimming. It's like, how far did she jump? And she just starts sinking to the bottom. And it's like,
I don't know,
okay.
about 100 feet, maybe.
It wasn't even that, I would think.
She probably doesn't know how to swim anyway.
True.
I know
That's a good point.
that was a weird thing. I thought I was like, you jump in and your instinct to prolong your life doesn't kick in and go, oh man, I can totally swim, unless you don't know how to swim. I guess since we are talking spoilers now, the part that I had, they're investigating whether or not Armie Hammer or Mr. De Winter killed his previous wife, killed Rebecca, and they have to look through doctor files. And Lily James, she's like rushing over to London to beat the cops, and she's going through it. And she's like, "Oh man, I read." And then they find her there, and then they're sitting there with her, talking about it. Like, oh, but why wouldn't they be like more PO'd that she was tampering with potential evidence? I'm like, how are these guys so casual with her now? And then the other thing was, I cannot remember the guy's name. The dude who Rebecca had an affair with.
Jack, is it Fievel? Jack Fievel?
Jack
Yeah,
Fable.
let's just call him Jack to make it simple. He
Her
he
cousin.
is like, he's like a okay kind of guy, but you learn that he's got ulterior motives and stuff. And then when there's a possibility that she's pregnant and everything, or that Rebecca was pregnant with his child, there's that whole scene where he's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna kill you. You killed my, unborn child. Blah blah." And then later they see him after all of this investigation is done, and he's just kind of like, "Well, see ya," or something like that. And I'm like, this demeanor does not match what it should be. Like it did not, at least for me, it just didn't fit what I had mentally. And I'm just like, that was all in that sloppiness I had mentioned. I was just like, I think it was poorly, the ending was atrociously done. But according to you guys, well, most of us, it was altogether poorly done. So, but yeah, as far as the house itself having a presence, if that was supposed to be the case, then this movie failed terribly on that. I didn't feel that at all. And Rebecca didn't even feel like she had a presence, honestly. Not to me. I'm like, it was all Miss Devers. That's it. Like, she was the antagonist. I know she's Rebecca's mother, but she was the only reason I felt uncomfortable in this movie ever. Like, she was the antagonist, not Rebecca.
Well, it actually doesn't explicitly say that she's her Miss Danvers is her mother.
Theory.
I mean, I would
theory.
I would just assume that. Like, that just seems like a pretty good assumption, because in the doctor's notes, it doesn't say De Winter, it says Devers.
Well, she uses Mrs. Devers' name as cover so that they can't like, "Hey, Mrs. De Winter, you have cancer," and then everybody finds out, because she's supposed to be like the socialite.
Okay, that wasn't her maiden name.
I want to watch the 40s one again though, and see if that theory Alex has tracks.
I mean,
well,
that's kind of what I was thinking the whole movie too. That's kind of how it seemed that they were hinting at, is that might be the case. But it's never said. Yeah, it never. I mean, they don't explicitly say that anywhere, obviously. I feel like it could be a very strong theory that could be true.
So, but that was, and it makes sense to me. It's like, I want my daughter to have this estate, and therefore I kind of have it myself, and then that was the reason why she had so much. Yeah. And let's go back to, Matt, you mentioned the whole sleepwalking thing. Yeah, that was dumb. Like, why did we have that at all? And there was another scene where they did something like that. I don't know. I forget, but you made me think that. I was like, yeah, this just kind of threw in a couple things for no reason whatsoever. So, man, I mean, this is getting the 5 territory for me now. I'm like, I may take that 0.5 away.
Well, like I said, I can't emphasize enough. I just don't feel that Lily James, I didn't feel like she was overwhelmed by the house, or like by that.
Oh yeah, I totally agreed with that.
And I think that's one of my favorite parts from the 1940 ones is Joan Fontaine. I think she does an amazing job. I mean, she was legit, like, I think a 21-year-old actress coming in there who just seemed immature, and I just thought that fit. And she seemed overwhelmed. Like Lily James took everything in stride. She just got angry when she saw R's everywhere. I just never felt that she was overwhelmed, which in turn made me not, think the house was playing a huge role, or that Rebecca was looming presence over her. It was just a poor choice, I think, for them to do. But other than that, I mean, if I'm gonna say something positive, she wears good clothes. The first half of that movie was just a straight up fashion show for Netflix. They're like, hey man, check out this amazing wardrobe. So they got that going for them. I don't know what clothing store sponsored them, but I'm sure someone did.
Yeah, right.
There was one other thing I remember, and it's super small. It's like not even really worth mentioning, but they had the two dogs that, they had two dogs and they really only acknowledged one. That was a weird thing to me. Like both the dogs would go up to like a door and, like, hey, I sense this presence here, because dogs have that kind of thing in movies. And I can sense this ghost, this Rebecca person. So I'm going to lead you there. And they're all like, I don't know what they call that one. Jasper?
Yeah, Jasper.
Like that.
And they only acknowledged the one dog. There were two in several scenes. And I'm like, why is she ignoring this other dog? Like, it's super dumb. And I'm like, why do you need two dogs in there then?
All right. Real talk though, like, all right, so Maxim De Winter hates his ex or his dead wife. Obviously, He hates her. Why is all her crap still in the house? Like,
because of that whole mother theory. But
it's his house. He can be like, take everything with an R out of here. She's gone. We're fine.
I would agree. Yeah, I thought that too. Yeah. Like, why is he sleepwalking to that room? Like, because I love this room so much.
I think it's more of a what am I trying to say?
I'm giving this a 5. I'm sorry.
An image. It's an image thing where it's like if he hated his dead wife, shot her, made her drown, or whatever, and then got rid of all of her shit, he'd be like,
but he just got married. He has a new wife
doing?
now. Why is it still in the building? The first thing he should have done when he went in that building, like with his wife, is like, all right, we're moving all this crap out. Let's get to our stuff. Because literally, he doesn't like her. That's his whole thing. He hated her because of what she did. Why is he keeping all that crap around? It's his house. He can fire the entire staff. No one cares.
Probably take away the point of the movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think one of the things that the '40s film handles pretty gracefully too is that Maxim's got kind of a character arc where he starts the movie still feeling trapped by this relationship that he was in. And you don't really get the context of that because he doesn't really open himself up. So that's why I love the opening where he's thinking of, like, you just got this impression that he's going to, like, he doesn't value his life as much anymore. So he's thinking about killing himself. And then you get this kind of growth where he's like, well, now that I've got this new person, maybe it'll be better. Or maybe if I spend time away from the house, or maybe if I'm, because we don't even know if he's been to the house since it happened. He's just been in Europe. And so by the end of the movie, you kind of get this workaround where he's slowly just coming to appreciate his new wife and the situation a little bit more, and he's and I think that's something the new film just completely loses subtlety on. And there's even some lines of dialogue that deal with like the way, I think the way the film deals with the relationship between Rebecca and the characters is great, but the way the relationship between Rebecca and the audience is not, where they're like, her presence is still here or something like that. And I'm like, oh, it's not on the nose at all. So that was the one thing I thought would have been interesting to see is if you had started with that sequence, that scene where he is like on the cliffside, and then you're like, well, this is a kind of a broken way to start this character. But then he escapes from that kind of mentality, except Mrs. I want to say Mrs. Devers can't. And so she has her finale on that cliffside, which I think is still silly. But if you're going to do it, set it up and have a payoff for a different character. So I thought that would have been more interesting.
Yeah,
it's Danvers. We were getting it wrong. It's Danvers.
Danvers. I was right.
Danvers.
I thought it sounded like,
because they call her Danny a few times, or at least in the old movie they call her Danny. So yeah.
Why? That was the one thing out of this movie. Well, a couple things, but this is one of those things that kind of annoyed me. It was like, why are we nicknaming her? Like she's like an old stuffy like British maid.
What's up,
Well,
Danny?
naming this lady.
Well, maybe she was like a fun time before her daughter died. I mean, her person she looked after died.
Which I want to get.
It's her daughter.
Thank you for reminding me that this one I want to get to. In the '40s version, there's actually like this subtle like subtext that she's actually gay.
Yeah.
There's if you watch the Criterion Collection, there's like this whole documentary, like it's like an hour or something like that, about how the subtlety is actually that she was gay, and that's why she was in love with Rebecca.
Well, obviously Rebecca's a free spirit. She probably does a lot of everything.
Probably. But I can see where you guys got, like, especially you, Alex, where you kind of got this mother-daughter relationship, because Kristen Scott Thomas is no spring chicken, as much as I respect her. But I think in the '40s version, like, she was played by like a younger actress. So I think it, like, in the '40s version, there was like that lesbian undertone or like subtext. But in this one, I can see where the mother-daughter thing came in.
Right. Yeah. I just went by the whole age thing. That's why that made sense to me. Which brings me to my question: How old is De Winter supposed to be in the original? I think
she's supposed to be in like her mid-20s, early to mid-20s.
No.
Maxim?
Sorry.
I think he's supposed to be in his early 50s.
Yeah, he does not look like that at all. Okay.
Definitely has
I'm
the
just
older look
wondering.
to him.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would make sense because Olivia was older.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to watch the first one to kind of, okay, this is what it should be. I want to take this movie for what it is and then go back to, the gold standard. So, I mean, yeah, this is a case of, I'm just thinking about this movie too much and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Like
I kind of want to know how the book actually ends. Does she jump off a cliff and drown, or does she die in a fire? Like, part of me wants to be like, do they do that just because that's what happens in the book, or did they think that her dying in a fire would just be too intense or too vicious for this film that we've done so far?
Okay, here you go. This is actually from the book.
Go ahead.
So the plot from the book is actually an American woman who goes on holiday in Monte Carlo, who's in her early 20s, and then long ass name, Maximilian Maxim de Winter is a 42-year-old widower.
Oh, okay. I thought he was in his 50s.
Well, yeah. So, but I don't think it actually says like how old Rebecca is supposed to be either. So maybe he has like a nose for younger women.
I'm sure Rebecca's probably his age though, or at least slightly younger than him. Was slightly younger than him. But yeah, it probably never said.
Oh my God, I'm going to read this book. So this is from Wikipedia. This is a character description for Rebecca de Winter, okay? The unseen deceased title character who has been dead for less than a year. A famous beauty on the surface, a devoted wife and perfect hostess. Rebecca was actually unfaithful to her husband Maxim. Her lingering presence overwhelms Mendeley, dominating the visitors, the staff, blah, blah, blah. Through the dialogue, it is slowly revealed that Rebecca possessed signs of a psychopath, habitual lying, superficial charm, and expert manipulation. I'm reading this book.
Well, that's what my whole thing was. You said, does he like younger girls? I think the reason that he picked her to be his wife, or at least they got along, is because he was looking for someone who was young and innocent and not manipulative at all, or at least did not have that streak in her. And I think that's what he found safe and comforting. So I'm pretty sure that's why. Which I just didn't get that from Mr. Armie Hammer and Lily James.
And Alex, is like you were talking about Jack Fable. George Sanders in the original one is kind of like that. It does a lot better job with this than he does.
Way better job. Like, that's one of the side characters that I did not like. I said that they all did a good job. Not him, actually, in this new movie.
Yeah.
It was just a little too over the top.
Yeah. So, all right. So that was the end of spoilers. Anything else? Nope.
Check out the 1940s version. Unfortunately, it's not streaming anywhere, so you have to find the Criterion disc, or maybe it's at your library. Check your local library. It could be there.
It is definitely worth a watch. Idea. Alex, I'll let you borrow it.
Yay!
Okay, so next week, I think we all know what we're doing for next week, right?
Holiday?
Huh?
No.
Sorry, I just saw that on Netflix when I turned it on earlier. I was like, oh, we're
I
not
was like,
watching
oh,
this.
I'm good, man. I'm good. You're cool and all, but I'm good.
We're gonna give him another chance.
See, Ryan,
Jeez.
an hour and a half, buddy. An hour and a half.
Maybe it's an impactful movie. It's
Don't say hateful things like that, please. The Mandalorian season 2 starts this Friday. So I thought that we would watch episode 1 and kind of give our predictions on where the season's going to go. Cool.
Is that all we're watching?
That's all that's coming out.
Man.
The Empty Man. There you go.
I tried to convince Jeannie to go to the movies to see it just based on what you wrote. Although you said everyone else hated it, so I'm questioning whether or not that was a good choice.
I thought
She said no, so I haven't seen it yet, obviously.
I thought it was quite good. I guess for like a mini review, I thought it was quite good. For a horror movie, it was surprisingly mature, and it's like slow burn pacing. It's got like a 20-minute prologue that usually movies would just either monologue through in 60 seconds or get back to in the typical exposition entry into the third act. And this film's like, no, we're going to set up how this world works and the stakes that are happening before we even get to the actual story. And then throughout the film, I thought it was really well handled. The build up and layers of suspense was good. The way they cut was mostly pretty good. There's some sloppy editing and a couple of jump scares that don't. I mean, there's not even that many jump scares, and I think one of the things people have kind of a gripe about is that there's not really anything that jumps out at you. You just get a lot of suspense. But I mean, there was one sequence that like I was struggling to sit still because I was just too nervous to deal with the thing that was happening, and it lasted for like 5 minutes. So I don't like sitting nervously for like 5 minutes. The biggest thing that detracts from the film is probably just the finale. It's apparently true to the graphic novel it's based on, and that's apparently a little silly. For me, it's one of those things that kind of undermines your protagonist, your character arc. And I thought the character was pretty interesting. But for the most part, I thought it was just a really well-made movie. There's a lot of lore thrown at the screen for a kind of B horror movie. So I was interested to see how much was going on and all these little things. And you know, as much as I would love to say I want answers, I'm kind of glad we don't get answers for everything. It would have been too expositional. So I can see why the trailer is terrible. Like the trailer makes it look like just a B ripoff of a B movie ripoff of like Bye Bye Man. I think that was Jacob that said that. Something like that. You get your
Don't say it.
Yeah. So your typical like Candyman setup or something like that. But there's like a lot that goes on in this movie. I thought it was quite good. Other people seem to disagree, but critics there's still no Metascore for the film, so I don't really have a gold standard to compare it to. So until I see otherwise, I'm going to hold it at an 8 out of 10.
Wait, what is the gold standard of Rotten Tomatoes say?
I don't know if it has critic ratings set. I checked yesterday.
and we don't need to know.
Yesterday I checked and saw it had no critic ratings.
Clint's on the case.
Good, and that would be how it's. Now, Ryan, I'm curious between this or Invisible Man.
Invisible Man is one of my top 2 of the year, and it's
okay.
This is miles below that. In fact, I think on my list of best of the year, I've got films that have given a lower rating to that I still like more than this. But I could not deny how consistently unsettled I was for 2.5 hours.
Huh.
Or at least 2 hours and 10 minutes, and then 10 minutes of finale that was okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no tomato score on here.
After looking at your review, I was like, I may drag myself to go watch this.
I think I went into it with just really low expectations and came out with my kind of horror movie. So I think if people want a faster paced horror movie, maybe it's not their cup of tea, but I'm sick of truth or dare paced horror movies where nothing matters.
Yeah.
There's a little build up, one jump scare, and we're on the next. And 90 minutes later,
I agree.
Ryan, those movies are never going to disappear.
No.
Ever.
I was reminded because of freaking every movie that's come out since 1960.
That is true. Well, thank you, Ryan, for the mini review. You guys have anything else? Do you guys have any other? Thank you.
No.
Any other suggestions for us to watch next week?
No.
I have no clue.
No, I mean, Mandalorian is probably the better. I mean, the best option that we have. I mean, it's clearly the most.
Are we getting
anticipated.
a longer than an hour episode for the first episode? We don't know.
I was going to say, do you want to do the first 3 like we typically do? I mean, how many episodes is this?
Aren't they going to come out weekly though?
Yeah, this one comes out weekly.
Oh, that's why you do. Okay. I thought they all came out at the same time.
Nope.
Otherwise, they'd have the show done by Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Then I guess the first episode then. Yeah, that's okay with me. I think just from, I mean, not lack of options, but like that's clearly the option. Like that's the biggest thing letting out. I mean, and come on, we need something not Netflix, guys. We need to do something that's something else. Disney Plus is fine with me for now.
This is coming out weekly because on Google it says that Chapter 9 will be on October 30th, and then Chapter 10 will be November 6th. So this is going to come out.
Boo.
What are you going to do? Yay.
So, yeah, I'm does it say how long it is? Is it an hour?
It doesn't say.
No. Boo.
It's just 5 minutes of recap.
Yeah, right.
I hope not.
All right, guys, tune in next week when we recap the recap.
Yeah, it doesn't really say.
Okay, but I'm down for that. That's a decent choice.
Yep. So bring your previews, your predictions for next week. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week. Y'all have a good week. See y'all later.
Bye, everybody.